Hey, so this is part 3 of the wonderfully pain in the butt ignition project here on the Fox Body Mustang, and conveniently enough, UPS just brought a box of parts. So in this box I have a bunch of beautiful new parts from DIYAutotune.com, and let's open it up, see what we got. So disclosure, I've already unboxed this because I was impatient and I could not wait, but we still get to look at everything and have fun. So first and foremost, this is the the new Hall effect sensor that I'm going to use, and it's the threaded body style because I thought that would be easier to mount rather than the factory style. I mean, theoretically all I have to do is just make like find somewhere to mount maybe a piece of bar stock or something, tap a hole, thread it for I think it's M12, and yeah, screw it in, lock it in, and it's good to go. Wiring, you know, it's pretty straightforward. It comes with this like resistor in there, and I think you have to use that somehow inline. I have to look at the instructions, but there's that. And then next we have, so this is a spacer that, well, I guess while it's here, it'd be easier to show. So here's the tone wheel, the single wheel, toothed wheel, whatever you want to call it. So this is going to bolt onto the front of the crank pulley, and this spacer is because the crank pulley is recessed in, the face isn't flush with the edge of the pulley, so this goes onto that and it gives the wheel enough, it should be enough space where this comes flat or flush with the outside of the pulley, so this will sit out against the pulley properly. And yeah, so that should be that, and the rest of it's just packing material that was all undone, but that's not important. The important thing is we do have all the wonderful parts here, so now we can have fun trying to find a way to put all this on. Everything should be straightforward. The only thing that I think is going to be a pain is mounting the sensor, because I have to make it where this is adjustable and you know, that this is close enough to the wheel without hitting so it gets a good reading. But with all that said and done, let's look at what we got and see what we can do. So this is hopefully going to be pretty easy. What I'm thinking is I'm just going to remove these two side bolts here, slide the tone wheel on, and put these bolts back in, and that should do the trick. And then after that, I guess the important part is I need to find where the missing tooth is in relation to top dead center on the engine, because I'm going to need that information to punch into Tuner Studio when I start making adjustments to everything to get this thing running. So off camera, I ended up putting the tone wheel on. Oh, I know, how bad Kirk. You didn't film it, you didn't make any content. It's okay, because here it is. It's all on, and hopefully that will do. Next step is trying to figure out how and where can I mount the Hall effect sensor, so that's the next step. Oh hey, nice to see you again. So it is the next day, and I got a little bit done here before I started filming. I suppose I should show you. Let me get my phone out, because once again, I don't have a flashlight. I really need to go and get a new flashlight, but... Alright, so if you've noticed something that's missing, that whole AC compressor that was sitting there is G-O-N-E. No longer there, out of the way, plenty of room now. But the beautiful thing is, the lower bolts there for the AC compressor are almost like perfectly centered with the center of the wheel there. So I think that would be a great place to make a bracket, and yeah, for the new Hall effect sensor. So I have this piece of bar stock. Where is it? There it is. That I ended up getting for something else with this car, but never actually needed it. But this thing would be perfect. I think it's rigid enough, and it'll be easy to work with in terms of bending it, because I'm going to have to bend it like a couple 90s in it. Probably mark the distance between the holes, drill my holes there, and I'll have to make a 90 this way and then a 90 this way. Drill my hole for the sensor, and then the only thing I gotta do there is just thread the sensor, and I guess I gotta use a feeler gauge. There's a certain distance away. I gotta go check the manual. There's a certain distance away that needs to be from the wheel. But yeah, that should be that. I just totally just rubbed all of that into my hair. I had an itch. So I do have this bar laid out. I took my measurements, the distance, the space between the two holes. So I got them marked. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna drill out the two holes, and hopefully that'll be all good. So. Hey, look, we're making some progress here. Look at that. Ain't too bad. I mean, it ain't great, but it will work. So now I just have to mark where the tooth is lining up to this, to the bar here, so I can tap the hole for the sensor, and I think we'll be good. Not too bad, huh? Ah, yes. The sweet sound of stuff getting done. I don't know if it really makes a sound, but regardless of all that, I did get everything put on. And I'm not really sure how close that needs to be, but I think if it's close enough, it'll be fine. I would imagine too close without touching is better than too far away. So yeah, that does that. You know, I was going to start snipping a lot more of this harness here because, you know, I'm not using half this stuff and I don't need it, but I'm glad I didn't, because I can use the wires here that went to the mass airflow sensor and keep everything nice and tucked away. So I will probably cut into this, splice into the wires here to the sensor, and just kind of run that along the bottom there, like I guess with the sway bar, run it through a loom, keep it nice and protected, and it should be good. Also, with that said, I do have to make some wiring changes to the microsquirt because of how this is going to be hooked up. I have to add a couple extra wires to existing inputs on the microsquirt. So this has been an extremely long process, and I'm still far from done, but definitely have made a lot more progress than I was anticipating, and we actually got some things done. So to wrap up this video, let me go over quickly everything that's taken place since the last clip, and then I'll explain what still needs some work. So I have gotten a lot of this wiring pretty much, I think, as good as it's going to get for now. Some of this I'm actually really happy about. I'm really proud of. So this is, I've used a lot of loom if I could. There's a couple stray wires here and there that I'm going to have to just figure out. There's really no good way to do this, perhaps, but this is the harness going to the coil pack. So that has all the wires and then the ground here. Cutting up the existing harness to the car, factory harness here. So this comes out from the inside, it goes to the microsquirt, and I have some of the wires that go to the ignition input. So actually on this, I ended up figuring out a couple different things that I wasn't sure about, and there was a reason why I wasn't getting any spark, because I was using the wrong wires. The problem is there was like the directions from the Summit Racing ignition box were contradicting the stuff I was reading for the microsquirt. Eventually I figured it out, and we're all good now. So now I have RPM. I finally have a signal now coming from the new wheel and Hall effect sensor. So that's all good. That's all good. Which, by the way, I know in the last clip I had everything wired in right here. I aborted that, and that way I can cut that out. But what I did was I ended up using the factory plug here. I could just cut it off the wire for the crank sensor since I'm not using it, and I just reused it so I can have it, and made the loom here. And now This follows down here, goes all the way down, looks nice, clean. I don't know how well you can see that, but that's nice. I like that. That looks nice. And then I have a ground here for the ignition. That also gets grounded inside the car as well, but this is a nice heavy ground on the engine block. Tidied up some of the wires here, hid some wires underneath the battery tray so it cleans up a lot. And I'm really happy with this. I think this looks a lot nicer than it did, and we're all good to go there. So like I said, I do have an RPM signal, so that's good. The car still cranks great and whatnot, but now I think like it wants to start, but it won't. There's some things I have to figure out now with the different settings in the Micro Squirt or in Tuner Studio. I think a lot of it's just like literally changed everything with the tune I had, so a lot of stuff has to change, but I'm getting it figured out. Like the car wants to run, you know, it like you start to go boom, you know, you hear like the pops and like it wants to run, but I think either the timing's out, the air fuel, something ain't right, and it doesn't want to actually fire. But we got spark, we got RPM, so we got everything we need. We just got to figure out some settings in Tuner Studio, and then we should have a running car here. So needless to say, this has been a pretty successful installment of the series here. So, you know, I'm a lot happier now with everything than when it all started. So in the end, really, all that extra work wasn't to waste. This is definitely going to be a much nicer way for all of this to be. That makes me really happy. But it would make me even more happy if the car was actually running, but that is for a different video. And with that said, that is it for this video. So remember, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, and if you want to see more content like this, then go ahead, subscribe to the channel, keep a lookout for the next video.